Hello, welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
I'm Johnny B.
I'm Wooly Mike.
And I'm Steve.
But together we are
Modeling for Advantage.
Woo!
Ooh,
Well.
every time.
Loving it.
We did make the show a couple of weeks ago, and I've screwed up already. I started the show and then ran the theme tune, so people start me staring at the screen, wondering what I'm doing. Rich and Axe not going to be here. Always appreciate people checking in to let us know they can't come. Nick from Team Clueless Games, hello, Sailor, and Alid. Great to see Steve on the show tonight. Indeed, long awaited. I spent a year in his spam folder, but then caught up with him at the CrackCon too, and he said, "No, mate, it was nothing personal. Just send me another email." So there we go. And as Alid points out, Mrs. Kaiser is the best supplier of plastic crack in the UK. If you're looking for O Group expansions, we got a lot of Flames of War stuff, including
good stuff.
Because we unbox a lot of it. We have a lot of the single sprues on eBay as well. If you just look and pick up one of these or them, that's what we do. So Josh Wood has joined in as well. Can't make the show again, but it's happening now, Josh. It's here. Tony Halton and the beautifully named Solvent Abuse UK. Modeling wise, tonight, Matthew, I will be mostly putting some brown paint on these Sarissa 15mm buildings for another black powder American Civil War game, something we've only done once before. We haven't got any new models painted, I don't think, but we're going to have a new battlefield to look at least, or a little bit new. What are you up to, John?
You might have actually painted a few extra bits. I feel like you might have done some cavalry for me or something like that. Who knows? I'm going to stick together some of these Great Escape games, Cowboy Dude blokes. Because Kaiser's gone and got himself a nacho game of banditos. But I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know where I want to go with them. Cowboys or what are they called? Pinkertons. What are they? So you can have a little bit of interaction.
Detective agency. I've got those.
All right, so I won't do those then.
They wear
I'll do the O'Malley gang. I'll do a bunch of Irish dude blokes.
If you played Red Dead Redemption on Red Dead Redemption 2, the Pinkertons appear in that, and they're like a private police force.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try and do some of that. So, Willie Mike, what have you got on the table?
Painting cowboys.
Oh, you're joking? Oh,
no.
Yeah. That's legit. Okay, well, there you go. Coinky dink. Steve, no doubt some sort of root vegetable on your table.
No, I'm going to surprise you all. I'm actually prepping some 15mm Flames of War for O Group.
Well, I never.
I've started on
game.
Yeah, I blasted out that at British Battalion in about 3 weeks and had to go and lie down for a week. I've never painted anything so fast in my life. But now I've moved on to their opposing force, which is a late war German battalion. Again, Flames of War stuff. I subjected myself to the horror of painting late war 15mm German camouflage.
Well, everybody loves a bit of P dot or whatever it is. Anyway, I'm just going to stick you straight up on the big screen there just as soon as he's finished dry brushing. And I believe a lot of viewers can find you on a certain place on YouTube. Can you divulge as to where they can?
You can. It's on a very mystical and hallowed place. It's a YouTube channel called On Point HQ. On there, the name may sound synonymous. I am one fourth of the very esteemed Plastic Crack podcast with my compadres from over there. But yeah, I'm just a largely historical wargaming based YouTube channel, mostly bolt action, some turnips, a bit of O Group, and that's about it really. I just enjoy what I do.
Very nice. That's good. And then Kaiser's obviously still dry brushing because your head is there. But now we're back and all is well.
If you've not seen the Plastic Crack podcast, it's like this, only good. So
yeah,
I would highly recommend it.
Thank you for the kind words there. Slightly inaccurate, but very kind.
I mean, they've obviously got a few quirks. They're very big on basing tanks, which we don't approve of over here.
Oh,
I'm saving that one for when you got here.
Oh, I'm going to have to reconsider my time here now. You don't base, you don't base tanks? What? What is this madness?
Indeed. As again, catch up. So Gary Saffron69 is here. Howdy. Charles Rotora is here. Boots on the table. Don't believe him. He's got a turnip hidden somewhere. I was hoping it was a ferret down his trousers, but maybe it is a root vegetable after all. Whether or not some creepy little cabin in the woods, don't look back 80s slasher horror game from Black Site Studios. Oh, nice. And Rosie's in the chat. Howdy, Rosie. That is Johnny B's better half. So I got a list here of things. You know, when we got a celebrity such as Steve on here, we don't want to waste our time on either.
Don't want to wing it.
Oh, just wing it, mate. So I thought first of all we could talk about a gentleman's war. Let's see if we can get that up. So they hear from me all the time over here, Steve. Tell them what I've got. Different slides. Tell them what they're looking at here.
So that's one of the starter boxes from World Games, set in the Western Desert, North Africa. So we've got Dutch, Africa Corps, and British. But what I like about this, I think you know what I'm going to say. It's the armored cars. The armored cars.
Oh, look at that! There's the British. There's the German, and that's the actual box contents.
Oosh!
Look at that.
You got to admit that's a cracking box, isn't it? It's an absolutely cracking box.
These starter sets, I always like the look of them. What was the other one? The Island one. That was cool.
Island Assault,
yeah.
Island Assault. Funny that, yeah. But this one, as you say, with the armored cars. Oh my! Ooh. Some of the first plastics, I believe, of the armored cars, other than what's that one you got, Kaiser?
Well, that's also new. The 250s, which are the mini half tracks, they make an armored car version of that one, late war, and that basically replaces this. The 222. It's a little bit cheaper, a little bit better mobility. It's cheaper because of the volume of manufacture, of course, not because it's actually cheaper.
Has this box set got you all fizzy, Steve, because of those cars?
It has, because I mentioned this last night. I've spent the past sort of 18 months or so just doing bolt action set in Normandy.
Yeah,
and I fancy something a bit different. I actually the 8th Army box or the sprues that they do are literally some of my favourites. So you can't have too many of those. But I'm thinking of starting a sort of a DAC force soon. So that'd give me all the infantry that I need, and plus a really nice 222. So it's definitely an option for me, and you can never have too many sprues knocking around for kit bashing. But that would be a great start.
Never have too many British knobbly knees on display either.
Yeah, and one of the attractive things about this is those armored cars, they see service throughout the entire war. Yeah, maybe not quite the Humber, probably not 1939, you know, but you might not get it in if you like Blitzkrieg era stuff. But certainly the 222 is.
I think the Humber gets replaced by the Daimlers, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's not. But they're not gone. Yeah. they're just not necessarily issued new. And I love all of the British World War II armored cars. They look they look like what an armored car is supposed to look like to me. And it's one of the things I like about the 222 compared with like the 6 and 8 wheelers, which are just massive lumbering vehicles for a recon vehicle. That thing looks like it does recon.
Yeah, true. Very true.
I saw these a 222 and a Humber driving around at Tank Fest this year, and they are quite nice little nippy vehicles. So,
right, which is always good.
Yeah.
So you've not got a DAC or an 8th Army Force yet, then yourself? You've got the
I bought the 8th Army starter box last year because I wanted to kit bash it into a Burma force.
Yeah.
So I wanted to use some of the shorts, some of the short sleeves, but combine it with the new British infantry one. And I went wrong because the uniform just bored me into submission when I was painting it. So I'm gonna revisit that because I'm gonna try a different take on the uniform. But I did buy a box of the 8th Army because I made some a couple of squads of SAS a while back. Again, a
With
bit of
tea
kit
towels
bashing
on their heads and everything.
Yes. So
Sweet.
I'm still waiting to get the vehicles for them. They were built, God, must be coming up to 3 years ago now. But lovely. They were the first sort of what I call the new Warlord plastics that they were released.
Yes.
When you compare them to the likes of the old British infantry, the Grenadiers, the old Soviets, but then they released sort of the 8th Army, the SS. They were just a step up from those. So when I first worked on them building those SAS, I was absolutely blown away by them, and they were so compatible with so many different kits. So I've used arms now from the Grenadier box. I've used arms from the US Marine box. Really, if you like me and you can't just put a kit together as is, it's brilliant for kit bashing. But no, that would be a great starter. And again, I've not painted any of the new DAC figures. I've not actually really seen much of them, but it would be an interesting way of starting. Yeah,
definitely.
Sure.
And these bolt action starters. So strong points about these bolt action starters, like you say. I like the force. You compare it to Band of Brothers. I was really let down by the fact that you only get 12 German infantry in it.
Yeah,
and a half track. As these, you look like you're getting 24 and a vehicle. It's much more balanced. It's like one army times two, right? The armored cars in bolt action, those armored cars, they are different, but they're not that different. You know, their performance on table is going to be almost identical, which is nice. And you get your tokens and your dice and everything. The one disappointment about this, if I'm to be brutally honest, for me, is there's no scenery in it.
Was there in the other ones, the other starter sets?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, there was. And the reason I'm not saying it, okay, most starter sets don't come with scenery, right? But one of the things that I've really appreciated over the recent years is an increasing trend of providing scenery in starter sets. I think I find, I've said it before, and I keep saying it, I think scenery is the weakest part of most people's collections, and the more of it that comes discounted in a starter set, the better, especially when that scenery themes it. And so to give you an example, in the case of this one, they really could have just provided you with 4 inches of sandbags, and I'd have been happy.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm trying to think what scenery you put in. It'd probably be the demolished building, wouldn't it? Or
so the demolished building is in the Europe one, but you could have put, as I say, you could have put some sandbags in this. They put the spider holes in the Japanese one, and I like that because it was themed, for the setting. But yeah, just a few rows of sandbags, I think, would have just made.
I noticed the boys' anti-tank rifles in there.
Oh yes.
It looks like there's a German version as well. I'm not familiar with a German.
Yeah, it's called Der Boys. Der Boys.
I think it's another Panzerbuch.
I don't know what that is.
I think it's another Panzerbuch, but I might be wrong.
Oh, we love a Bush. Bob Edwards has kindly answered a question that Vinny asked. Vinny asked, is this a more than one box buy, i.e. buy 2 to get it going? And Bob Edwards has kind of said, you might be best off just complementing it, with an additional infantry box. I mean, you do get those sweet armored cars in there, so maybe, I don't know.
So I think what you find is a lot of people want those armored cars for later war armies. And if you've already got a collection and you buy this, you might find yourself wanting to use those armored cars with your existing armies. So, and you can't buy them separately either, which I don't think I made clear.
I was going to say, how long do you think it'll be before they are released as standalone plastic kits?
Wow. They've not really done this before, have they? So it's hard to say.
Trying to think of, there are no instances where they've had a kit in the starter set and then bought it out later, is there? Or is there?
In my time. Do you know of any, Steve?
No, I'm just trying to wrap my brains. This is the first, I believe, where there's been I mean, I think didn't the Island Assault have some exclusive, but weren't going to be released later? But these people are going to be pining after these plastic armored cars.
Yeah.
There is money to be made there moving forward. Lots of it.
They definitely will release it as a single kit. But it's impressive quite how much we're still in sort of post-COVID consequences. It may just be a supply problem. And I mean that sincerely. They can get so many now, but they can't get as many as they think they would need at the moment to sell them separately. Because I think separately it would do extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
Because as I say, a lot of the armored cars you can get are resin. And this is for people who play bolt action. These are like 80, 90 point armored cars. These are the kind of thing that go in a slot nicely. You know, a slot you normally want to fill, and you don't want to put a Puma or something in there necessarily because it's an expensive armored car. There's a lot of scope for cheap armored cars, I think. But yeah, Western Desert, and we've looked at these. We've reviewed the starter armies, John. I think the sprues were quite new, weren't they?
Yeah, each of them. 8th Army and what's it? Yeah, I mean, they're cool. As Steve said, the 8th Army was the first gen of the, not having separate arms and weapons, which was really nice. That was a game changer for me. I've got the old British ones, and I'm sure plenty of other people have got the old stuff as well. And it was just so bloody fiddly putting the arms and the weapon, trying to get the weapon the right direction, the right angle. Yeah. It was just bloody odd.
The right arm wants to hold it this way, and the left arm wants to hold it that way.
Got this Lee Enfield.
My only mistake was to glue the heads on before I put the arms on. So you got the guy going.
Yeah. True, but these ones they're looking good.
I'm kind of with you, Dom. I'm kind of with you, Dom.
Oh, what's he gonna said?
Yeah, so boots on the table with Dom. Just go for the metal ones. They're better. I think you might be right. I think you might be right. As I get older, I'm less attracted, despite my channel's YouTube name, to the time and effort spent modeling on a lot of the soldiers. And frankly, how kind of samey they can come out looking once you've got a decent number of them. Metal has got its own problems and clean-up time and weight and everything, but I do find when I get when I paint a metal miniature, I'm like, I forgot what this was like. It's nice. I should go back to it.
The discussion you've had before about the bolt action vehicles, where they're third-party manufacturers, and they're model kits rather than gaming kits, and it's it's not. I hate them. I hate them.
Too many details.
Yeah, that is not what Rubicon kits are like, by the way, for anyone that knows. Most of the Rubicon vehicle kits are pretty decent. They are model kits, but they're not complicated ones.
No, I've made one Rubicon kit, and that was the 2.5 ton American truck for my American tank destroyer platoon. But I've also got some of on a Rubicon. Slight tangent. I've got some of the Rubicon USMC on my desk.
Now,
love them, don't you?
Absolutely.
This is the new Vietnam stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aren't these like 48 part 28mm miniatures?
Then they're not so. They come in a few different pieces, but for me, it's the scale, the realism, the equipment, everything about them. As soon as I started building, I was like, I just want to paint these all the time, because they, compared to I spent years painting bolt action scale, so sort of hero scale. So these are a different kettle of fish altogether. Very real. Yeah. They're quite very similar to the DAC the DAC and the World War II stuff that Perry's have done, where they're slightly more human looking. That's a good way to put it. But honestly, the way they go together, the details, it's just a fantastic kit. Love it, absolutely love it. Can't wait to pick up some more of the the Vietnam range as well.
I just want that damn Huey, man. I want it.
I want that.
I want it for my
chopper.
Predator crew. Yeah, basically that's it. That's what I want it for.
I can't imagine how complex a kit that is. Right, so the gentleman's war. So if you didn't know, that new kit that's up for pre-order at Warlord Games, or of course from the Modding for Advantage web store, where you'll find it
Much better place.
off. Yeah, each one hand-picked by Mrs. Kaiser's fair hands, and if you can smell
and licked by my very own self. True fact.
Says, yeah, but Steve, you like skeletons with separate feet.
Oh my god!
Mad.
Yeah, I didn't know about this when I bought it before. I've been building some skeletons for a Warlords of Era 1 warband.
Yeah.
Except nobody told me that the kit that I bought came with separate feet.
Beautiful kit though, right, Steve? Beautiful scales, as you say. On some of the other ones, it's very Harryhausen skeletons.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
They're
but you
lovely.
got to push the bloody ankles into the feet.
Yeah, I got
it's
some
stupid.
It
doesn't work.
These War Games Atlantic.
Yes, I actually picked. Oh no, yeah, it was no War Games Factory, but they're sold by Warlord.
Yeah.
I actually picked up a brilliant tip off Twitter. Some guy said when you're building them,
get someone else to do
it. Whether it's that, pay some other bugger to do them. What he does, he leaves the feet on the sprue. Yeah, then you put the skeleton into the feet, let it dry, and then snip off the sprue. Yeah, and it works. I mean, what I do then is I have to hide the base. I have to hide their feet because they look so hideously mangled. Clump foliage is your friend at that point.
Yeah,
it really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Large numbers of my infantry models have got at least one boot dug into the ground because the basing material got in the way. Yeah. That was the gentleman's one. I wanted to talk a little bit about events coming up. In particular, of course, we were just discussing before the show. The Warlord Day, it looks like it's on Saturday, 3rd of September. And Wooly Mike and I are intending to go up there. If you've not been before, you get a goodie bag, which is some tat they want to clear out of the warehouse. We've got some casualty markers for black powder, epic American Civil War, some game tokens for Judge Dredd, and a resin record. Oh, yeah! And an inflatable 18-pounder shell.
Bloody hell, Johnny, that was almost a bit X-rated, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah.
Like random
17 pounders, mate.
Goodie bag. It was nice to receive some bits from them, but I didn't find anything that I would have a use for. I'm the panic worrying that Johnny B is going to be licking my cursed Stalingrad box sets. Oh, that is not Bolt Action. The other big World War II game that's out there, of course, Flames of War. Their mid-war Eastern Front stuff is imminent. Now, I spoke to my guy today. It isn't quite being released as I had expected. So the two starter sets, which is the Kursk and Stalingrad, one is the infantry, one is the armor battle. That's the two-player starter sets for £50. They're coming out this week. We should be receiving them in the next couple of days, as will all the other stores. So you should be able to pick them up by the weekend. The 4 starter armies, the £80 big sets, faction sets, they're not coming out for a few weeks. I thought it was all coming at once, but it's not. That's that. But yeah, Warlord Day, before I forget, Warlord Day is beginning of September, 3rd of September. Myself and Wooly Mike and maybe John, if he's well enough, are going to go to that. And then in mid-October, there's this event called CrackCon, Steve. What's that all about?
There is. I mean, most people haven't heard of it. It's a really small piddling thing. Now we're holding our third CrackCon in the space of 12 months. Something that I never thought. Well, we never thought it would. We did the first one and we thought, let's give it another year. Yeah, it's fun. Let's give it another year. And then in May we held another one. And then in May, we were like, no, we can't do this. We got to wait another year now. And literally 4 weeks later, we were planning CrackCon 3. So that's going to be the weekend of October 15th, on the Saturday at Boards and Swords Hobbies in Derby. Absolutely fantastic gaming store. I believe we've got 2 very esteemed guests joining us on the day, have we?
Ken's going and Dom.
Yeah, so John and I we got tickets for that. We're looking to be there. We felt a bit bad last time because we turned up late and then hustled the raffle. We came away with loads of shit from the raffle.
We did, yeah.
But given it was Martin's wife and was it Martin's mum? Who was the other?
No, that was Steph's wife, Jill.
Right.
They've been to both crack cons, so Haley had a bit of because Haley didn't realize how much of an administrative task it was going to be. She almost got carpal tunnel syndrome from putting all the raffle tickets together. So yes, it was But seriously, without Haley's help, it wouldn't have run anywhere near as smoothly as it did. So we're always eternally grateful. Oh, great stuff! Yes.
So Dom says there's still a couple of tickets available. I can't remember exactly. It was about 15 quid. If you've not been before, guys, or heard of it, it's not a trade show. It's a Jacobs Join Wargamers Day.
Yeah.
In a fairly big shop, but with a lovely group of people. Most people, from what I could see, just to give you the outsider looking in, most people pre-arrange games, and there's a Facebook page where they've done all of that. I know some massive games going on, particularly if things like Wars of the Roses, it's stuff that they're like the community group are interested in, some bolt action stuff. But there was other people who just brought along games that they wanted to play that day.
Yeah.
Even though John and I didn't get there till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we still got 3 games in. Yeah, the guy taught us how to play Test of Honor. If we'd had more time, we was going to play Turn It 28 with Steve, which we'll get onto in a minute, and we may yet get to do that this time. So it's well worth it, I think, because it's a really different feel to most shows. It's not demo games that you can participate in a little bit. It's like, no, come and play with us. And then you all go for a beer afterwards and stuff, don't you? People stay in hotels nearby and
we on the last 2 occasions we've invaded a local travel lodge and caused untold bedlam and mayhem. Although last time I was very sensible. I was back in my hotel room by midnight drinking tea. That's how rock and roll I was. No, because the last time we went out, I was my back was gone, my feet were gone. I was tired. I'm just too old for partying, so I just don't do it anymore. So I was back at the hotel for midnight. But yeah, it's just a day of gaming. There's no, like you said, it's not a trade show. It's just for people who watch the podcast to come together at Boards and Swords and just come and throw some dice with us. It's just the last 2 times have been absolutely phenomenal fun, and I've enjoyed both of them so much.
And your man who runs the shop put on some special discounts for stuff he wanted to clear out on the day.
Oh God, yes.
And he was selling Flames of War starter sets for £40, I think.
Yeah,
which,
that's why.
Just so you know, that's cheaper than I buy them for at trade price. Just so you know.
Yeah.
And he had about 6 or 7 of them. I mean, it wasn't junk he was selling off cheap. Just
no.
And he's got to make space for new things.
The best thing about it was Dom said, "I'm not buying any 15mm today." And then
he's got nuts for our group, hasn't he?
Yeah, he ran out. He bought 2 boxes of them, the Soviet starters. We saw him. We saw him running out the shop, looking really suspicious, like.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just a great day. It really is.
As Dwayne from Plastic Crack Gaming, but the
Irish
how you doing, mate? It's good to see you again. So that's CrackCon, just in that. So the thing we've never yet talked about much on this channel, but it comes up a lot on yours, is Turn It 28. So if I can get some pictures up, Steve. If you've never heard of Turn It 28, you're not alone. It is a bit weird, but it is interesting. So let's have Steve tell us a little bit about it. Share screen.
Where do I start?
Well, just so here's a picture. Look, there you go. That's a place to start. Turn It 28. It's a concept, but it is also a game system, right?
It is, yeah. So the quick rundown I always give. So it's a game that's being developed by artist Max Fitzgerald, and again, I apologize, I keep forgetting the dude's name. It's a guy that develops the 1-page rule set, and it's a really strange aesthetic. So 32nd whistle stop tour of turn 28. So it's set 1,000 years after the Battle of Austerlitz. The world has stagnated technology wise, and a giant root has grown all over the world, and nothing grows. There's just mud and root and fog, and the inhabitants they eat and they harvest this root, which causes the mutation. So you'll often see people with big growths and roots sticking out their back, and this has spawned cults. But they're still using 1,000-year-old black powder weapons, muskets and cannons. But they're all broken, they're all rusty, they don't work, and it's a game built around. For me, it's a game built around an aesthetic, and it's there's no set. There's cults that you can have in the book, but how they look is entirely up to you. So I used mainly Napoleonics and Perrys and all kinds of other weird stuff that I can get my hands on. And again, it's just like if like me, you enjoy kit bashing, it's just a kit bashing paradise with some mud and tufts thrown in.
Get your Blanchitsu on.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So what's this first one then, Steve? These are your Turn It 28.
These are mine. Right? Yes. So that is. Oh God, I can't remember the name. It's an art. Do you know, my mind's gone blank. I can't remember what it's called.
It doesn't matter.
Is it one of them small English Civil War ones?
It's a cannon, basically.
It's a cannon, yeah.
It's a cannon, yeah. But that's been built using the Warlord Continental cannon set with some Perry's heads stuck on from the Wars of the Rose, 100 Years' War, and I've put some army painter tufts on their back.
I'm gonna call you on that, Steve. That's they're actually heads from the Perry's Mercenaries box.
Gone one too far.
Just to let you know that.
Oh yes, they are.
Got them.
Oh, we're going all over the bloody shop. Where are we going? And is that what I spy a Games Workshop rat at the front there?
It is. It's from the old Skaven set from the 1990s.
That's for me. But that's genius. Look at that.
All right, so next picture. This is the rank and file here.
Yeah, so this is fodder. So these are your basic foot sloggers. Now I made these using Prussian Landwehr from Warlord Games, and again, it's just added Perry's heads. There's even a head on there from the Gunfighter set by Great Escape Games. So the guy at the end with a bag on his head.
The bag head.
Bag head.
But the officer in the middle is a Victrix Old Guard that Ken very kindly gave me, and I put the head on it. But then I got the one of the knight masks from the 100 Years' War knight set, and just stuck it on. And he's got a Skaven tail coming at the back of his head.
Oh yeah, right on top of his head.
Yes,
and tufts coming out all over the place.
Yes, there we go. So they can see the worm a bit more on there, coming at the back of his head. But yeah, I just use army painted tufts. In fact, I stick more tufts on figures than I do on bases. It's very
And with the basing again, you're going for this really sort of swampy.
Yeah, that's just Vallejo mud with Vallejo water effect, and then some Agrax Earthshade thrown into it. Now these are grogs. These are a bit tougher than fodder. So I used French line infantry for these guys. But again, there's all kinds of heads on there. There's cowboy heads, there's flagellant heads, there's Perry's heads, there's Napoleonic heads that I put sculpted plague masks onto them using green stuff.
Nice.
And again, more tufts
as well.
No, they're old Games Workshop Empire flagellant, sort of with the beards and the long hair. But yeah, so I used the Warlord, the French infantry for those, because a couple of cowboy heads can't go wrong.
Yeah, perfect base for these.
So these
are pro.
Yeah, so these are skirmishers. So these are what I call chaff. So for these, I used what did I use? So 3 of those are Perry's Voltigeurs with their heads cut off, and Perry's ones added. And I think the officer is again a Victrix French officer, and I think his head with the skull and the helmet is from the old Empire box from years ago.
It is the great
swords. Yeah, some of the arms. I think all of the arms with the muskets are from Warlord Games Continental Infantry from AWI. Again, it's just bits and pieces stuck together.
Nice.
I love the
scouring the bits box for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is where things went a bit mad. So this is a Victrix War Elephant. And I thought it looked a bit too healthy, so I chopped its tail off and replaced it with a Skaven tail.
Why not?
Why not? And then used green stuff to put some boils and pustules onto it.
Is that a Skaven plague bell as well under its neck?
No, that's actually on the figure itself. Yeah, I think it is.
I don't remember it.
Actually, did I stick that on? I can't remember. I really can't. These all sort of blend into one. So with the Howder at the top, or the turret thing, I just broke it up. I cut bits off it. I just added, sheets of metal. But the guy in the top is actually a Perry Knight with a musket sniper rifle.
Man, that is cool. That is really cool.
And it was just something. I just had it. And I just thought, you know what? I need to do something with this. So there we go. There's the sniper rifle there.
Very nice. So that's Turnip 28 then. So I mean, I think with this Turnip 28, it feels one of these games. There's a lot of interest in it, and I mean, it's like massive on Instagram. I understand.
Yes,
because it's got that strong visual. Sorry, Dom's comment there. Brace yourself, weird shit incoming. Yeah, absolutely. I have a fear about it in that it feels a bit like one of those games like Gaslands, in that there's a lot more talk about it than I see being played, and it's definitely a game I want to give a try because the one-page rules are pretty popular. Yeah. It's by the same team. It's probably not that bad a game.
I mean, we played. I put a demo game on at CrackCon between two of the guys that went there, and it was really weird. It was Sean from Metal Mercenaries. Right. He's a legend in the wargame world, and Dom came over and saw him playing it, and he was like, "What are you doing?" He was aghast. But I mentioned it before, but I didn't send a picture. So this
let me put it on the big screen, Steve, so they can see that.
So there's the snail.
Now, this is a garden ornament?
That's a garden ornament, yeah. And they've mounted it on some cork.
Of course you did.
You love that cork, yeah.
Covered it all in mud, and then I put the guy on the back.
And he's got a lance, this one, rather than a gun.
Yeah.
He's got a lance, yes. He's a jousting snail.
The gun does feel like a smarter option from that distance. Yeah. So that's on my to-do list for CrackCon anyways, to have a go at Turnip 28. If you're going to be there.
It's just a great game. I mean, for me, last year, I think I mentioned this on the podcast, I lost my bolt action painting mojo for about 3 months last year. So I just all I did was painted and built Turnip 28 for 3 months, and it was brilliant. Like I said, we had a couple of games of it. We played. I played against one guy specifically came down. He was playing Ken's Italian Wars game. Where in the afternoon we had an actual proper game of Turnip 28. And you know what? Meeting a fellow Turnip fan who'd built his own army. It was like, right. I felt we should have done some kind of secret handshake when we walked in. We were like one of the brotherhood or something. But it was a really, really fun game, and the rules are really intuitive.
Well, I might add. That was towards the end of the day, and it's gorgeous looking.
His army was fantastic. He was just put so much kit bashing into it. It was just brilliant. But you play it on a 3x3 board. It's quick because you only play it with sort of 3 units, 3 officers, and an artillery piece, or 4 units and 3 officers. There's not that many figures on the table at all. So it's I really want to play. In fact, I've not painted anything Turn 28 in a while, so I might have to remedy that in the very near future. I did put some. Dom was aghast at this. I put Beastmen and Skaven heads on British Napoleonic bodies. I tried to explain to him that I was now painting Napoleonics, but he was having none of it.
Right. Yeah.
He definitely disagreed with my point of view there. But Dom was the only one. Sorry?
You were half right.
I was half right. They had red uniforms on. It was just the mud and the Beastmen heads that were slightly giving away the game. But out of all of us on the PCP, Dom's the only one who's not had a go yet. Martin and Ken they've both dipped their toes into it, but we can't. It's just too weird for Dom. It's just too weird.
He started collecting French Napoleonics now, and even painting some of them. So the man is mellowing.
He is. I mean, look at Burrows and Badges. He said he'd never paint that. Now he's got about 2 or 3 warbands.
Absolutely.
So he's malleable, but I just think Turn 28 may be a step in the mud too far for him. Right.
Yeah, not so much the rules as the setting. Yeah.
Yes.
So on that kind of subject, I mean, Steve, you played a lot of bolt action in your time. Your channel has been built around bolt action.
Yes.
And one of the things that I would always say about bolt action is it's not a flawless game, and it's not a simulation of World War II action.
No.
But as a game that 2 guys can sit down at a table and play a battle for 2 hours and reach a conclusion, and there weren't too many spaces for arguing about how this is supposed to work. I think it's got the right balance of gameplay to simulation, complexity to simplicity. You know, I don't want to call it the perfect game. I feel there's still space for that. But it is a game that definitely shows its age. And so one of the things I thought was worth talking about is some of the things. If there was going to be a bolt action 2, what kind of mechanics or new system changes? And I don't mean I want to see heavy tanks have an armor rating of 11 or whatever, but bigger than that. Looking at other games that we've played. Any thoughts around the table about mechanics that you would like to see imported to bolt action from other similar systems? Does everybody need a moment to think? Shall I play some music?
No, I know mine.
Oh, you're straight in, are you, Steve? Go on.
I know mine already because I've mentioned this on the podcast a couple of times. I would implement something along the lines of the patrol phase from Chain of Command.
The pre-game.
Which is what? Yes. What's that?
So it's where it's a sort of mini game at the start of the game before any figures are on the table, and you move. you have so many patrol markers, and you move them around, and when they come within a certain distance, they lock each other down. And then once all the patrol markers are locked down, you then calculate using angles where your jump off points are going to be. No.
I'm out.
So I think it made it sound a lot more complicated.
No. Well, I think
when he said calculate angles, jungling,
No. Watch Big Rich explain it. He does a better job than me, because he wrote the rules. But having seen that, what that means is that you're not just deploying from your table edge, you're deploying from jump-off points within the battlefield, which are safe areas where your scouts have scouted ahead, and that they're bringing troops on and directing it. And for me, it's a more realistic way of getting troops onto the battlefield rather than just arbitrarily starting off your table edge and all running towards each other. There's a lot more tactical sort of consideration goes into it, where your jump-off points are. And what you're going to deploy there, and you can actually, in Chain of Command, you can if you get within, I think it's 8 inches of a jump off point, you lock it down so the opposition can no longer use that jump off point. So it's a game within a game with a jump off point. So it's where you deploy your troops from, but you can also deny your opponent the opportunity to use those jump off points if you capture them. I just think it's for me. I just don't. Although I've been playing war games for over 30 years, it's just the arbitrary. Let's start on our table edge. I can never get
straight
past
line.
that. But
straight line.
Yeah, the command. I mean, O Group does it to a degree as well with the combat patrols. Very, very similar thing, but keeping a sort of 28 mil. Yeah, that's the only real mechanic I think I'd introduce from another game into bolt action.
But there is the bolt action scenario where the reinforcements coming from anywhere, and if you bring yours in from a table edge, you close that one, and then the enemy's reinforcements can come on from any of the other three edges. So
in this, imagine each player's got, instead of units, you got a pile of poker chips, and you start putting them down on the table, and in doing so, you're closing off areas of the battlefield, and you basically build a deployment zone. Saying this is pre-game reconnaissance, and the game starts when that ends, which isn't necessarily when everybody's put all their tokens down, because it's a mini game in itself, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I just think it's a great way of simulating, like you said, sort of pre-engagement reconnaissance. You've got your scouts, your patrols that have found safe ways. Safe ways onto the battlefield, and it for me, whenever I watch Chain of Command bat reps, it just gives it
the best bit.
A whole different dynamic, because each game's different.
I think I agree with you. What I'd like to see is that was an optional rule.
Oh yes,
here's the 12 basic scenarios, and here's how you do a meeting engagement, for example, or whatever, and that's got that mini game in there, or an advanced role, because it is going to add half an hour to your game, which might not be something that you want. Whereas Chain of Command relies upon those mechanics for the rest of its game, doesn't it? You need those jump-off points to bring your models on. Yeah,
and Chain of Command is much more of a simulation than bolt action. It's a lot. You can win games, and you can only by killing 2 or 3 of the opposition. If you can shock them off the table, So I think for me though, if I introduce it into the bolt action, I think I'd make it a bit in line with the bolt action rule. So there'll be some kind of mini game, but just having like the jump off points on the table rather than just starting on your 6 foot table edge. I think for me it'd bring an extra bit of realism to the game.
Absolutely. Dom Boots on Table Dom says MMG should suppress so they have a role in the game. John, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was one of the things I was thinking of before Dom actually wrote it. That was something what's his face was talking about, Alessio. Because he's done a few sort of sit down and chats about how can you make bolt action version 3
without breaking,
and suppression was mentioned along with a few other things. So I mean, that's already covered about what I was going to say. Yes, MMGs are underused. They could be cheese. I tried a cheese list. You can go through our back catalogue games.
What you thought was a cheese list?
Talking about you guys have mentioned a couple of other game systems and bringing that in, like the creeping sort of deployment, given a better thing there. I mean, I also would like to bring in maybe, I think paratroops are underused and underrepresented, and I personally think that the Memoir 44 deployment of paratroopers would be a good system in bolt action. Grab the scoop of your paras and just drop them, and then where they land is where they've landed. I think that would really,
So it's good to have serious suggestions.
I've seen that done in another game with paras, but it was I think they were 10 mil, and it's dice. You drop a dice.
All right then. So it was semi-serious. All right. That's what I meant. Drop the dice, not the
drop the dice, and then depending on the number that comes up, that's the start point, and then the stick is deployed based on that. And some of them, you roll one dice at the beginning for the wind. So every time a dice lands, the stick always goes downwind of the dice.
Too many dice now. Many dice now.
Show me the historical battle where people were dropping into platoon-sized actions.
Oh, mate, every day, straight in.
That's not how it works.
And they all came out pretty healthy, I think.
The American paras in D-Day were platoon-sized actions because they never all landed in the same place.
Yeah, but they didn't drop on top of another platoon, or those ones are the ones that died. Anyway, meaning machine guns. What Mike? Mechanics or elements of other game systems you might want to see brought in?
I think they're the same with the MMGs. They can do quite a bit on the battlefield without actually firing. You know, they can control fire arcs. So you've got the ambush rule, but you know, being depriving an area, not the same as suppression, but you know, it's a no-go area. And even if the MMG's active, then you should be able to, you know, do something about it. So it really closes down the battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah.
Point.
So what I'd like
What's yours, Kaiser? Did you already give us a point of view?
No. I just commented on everyone else's point of view, so I sound clever. So what I'd like to see is I'd like to see something taken from more modern games. I'd like to see a deck of cards incorporated into it. Having played games with a card deck as part of it, even if that's just a turnly event, you know, that says all shooting is at -1 this turn or something like that. I just think it breaks a stale meta. But what I would really prefer to see, having just played Fistful of Lead recently, but also and comparing that really starkly with 0200, which are the two polar opposites in terms of what I would call player agency. In 0200, if you play the Germans, you basically do what you have to do every turn, and you're just a dice roller to a very great extent in that game. Whereas Fistful of Lead works in completely the opposite end, where you've got 5 cards and you've got 5 models, and these cards are both your initiative sequence, your order of actions, but also include situational modifiers. It's like, wow, there's a lot of player agency in this. And by that, I mean choice. I mean, what did I as the player choose to do? The problem with a lot of big battle stuff is you have little choice but to move forward 6 inches and conduct a shooting attack. You know, and so where's the choice? Where's the tactics? Where's the strategy? Cards mix that up a lot. But so ball action does already do that part of that well, because you choose which unit you activate, and that is the principal reason why it's a decent game. Is its initiative system. But I think there's more you can do with that. There's a lot more you can do with that.
It's like with the Dead Man's Hand, where for you draw a card, you assign it to one player, and you know what their card number is, and then you deal blind cards to all the other figures on the table, and then you turn them over, and that dictates initiative.
Yeah. So there's some player control there, there's some player agency. Yeah, absolutely. And in Fistful of Lead, Dead Man's Hand, the cards do things as well, don't they? So you're making a choice about whether you want to use this for its activity or whether you want to use this for initiative or whatever. Yeah. All of that kind of stuff. There's just modern games have brought a lot with that. I think that isn't just bloat, because actually bloat is
talking of bloat. Yeah, one of our viewers has mentioned about that. There's a couple of comments there. Sorry, I zoned out then. One of them was about a table. They've got a 4 foot by 2 foot table. What's the best game to play between bolt action and is that there? Yeah.
Flames of War and Bolt. You're going to really struggle to play Flames of War 2 foot wide. But you can definitely play bolt action on the table that small. You just need to cap your army sizes. I would try 300 points and see how it works. Just don't have vehicles and things, and don't go over 6 order dice.
Or you could play bolt action at 15 mil.
That.
With centimeters.
Or just play both and see which one you like, and then think about getting a tabletopper that's 4x4. That's ample space.
Yeah.
What was the other one? There was another one.
Because my games table is a 6x4 sheet of MDF, and then it's 2 fold away picnic tables underneath it.
Yeah.
So you fold up the picnic tables and put the board against the wall. And
that's the bloat one there, or bedwoods.
Bob, you're right. You're right on in bloat, and I definitely wouldn't want to see a system that I just described that was just bloat. You know, that would be a complete reworking of the draw initiative dice thing. It would replace that, definitely. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but I would like to see a version of Bolt Action that did that. Because it doesn't need more rules, definitely. Certainly not more core rules. Player agency. I need to remember that term in the future. Yeah. Sorry. Was it not obvious what I meant though? It's like the choices you make as a player. Yeah. And that many games you realize you're not actually making many choices. Bolt Action is very good at that. Every time a dice comes out, you decide which one you're going to use it on. You know, so there's a very high level of player choice there.
It's how far you move away from you go, me go, isn't it? That's
that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Truth.
Well, there you go. Let's hope Rick Priestley and Alessio were having a watch of this. And I think you're on solid ground with the machine gun thing, though. And I think somebody told me that either Conflict 47 or their Vietnam game has actually got machine gun suppression rolls in it. And it's simple.
Conflict
it's like
47.
he does a D3 pins rather than one.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, we've said that for a while. There should be first MMGs and HMGs. There should be a lot more dice output, and there should be more pins. I mean, in Chain of Command, I think medium machine guns fire something like 10 dice, and that represents a hail of fire, suppressing an area, getting guys to keep their heads down. I think that's a bit. Again, I know Chain of Command's a bit more of a simulation, but. And when you do a points comparison as well, I mean, you're talking, 50, 60, 65 points for a veteran machine gun team. Or if you're a German player, you just take 2 LNGs in your Fallschirmjäger squad or your Grenadier squad, and you've got a lot more flexibility. You get more firepower and more flexibility for less points.
And you're not vulnerable to a single sniper shot or a single 1-inch HE kills everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So.
The extra range, and actually the reality is that the sustained fire machine guns was still the king of the battlefield in the Second World War. Yeah, the LMG is a squad support weapon, but this medium machine gun on a tripod is still capable of barrage fire. It's still capable, and there's a lot of ammunition with it, something that isn't factored in to that kind of calculations. And the LMG and the MMG are basically the same weapon. And but one of them. There's about 250 rounds being carried among 10 men, and the other one, there's thousands of rounds for in a trailer. That's the big difference there when it can fire 1,000 rounds a minute. That they can't, this one can. All of that kind of stuff. But I'm not saying I want to track ammunition, but giving a unit more firepower because it doesn't have to worry about ammunition is a different thing. Anyway, that was our thoughts on that. What else have I got on my list? I was going to ask you how you felt about speed paints, because I had a bit of a revelation on the old speed paints recently. I was a bit nervous about using them, and I hadn't used them until very recently. John, where are you on speed paints? What would you say to the beautiful people at home? They're thinking of getting Army Painter or contrast paints, or I think one of the other paint companies has just released a range of them. Was it
I can't remember who.
Or College. Somebody else has just done a range of speed paints.
What would I say to them?
To anyone that hasn't tried it.
Depending. If you're already an accomplished painter, you might struggle with the changeover. You might also appreciate that you can do a few things that you'd normally do with just one coat instead of many. If you're a fresh off the blocks painter and modeler, definitely get them, because you can have models painted in an instant and you're not going to be fussed about them being a flat color. So yes, there you go. Depending on where you are in your hobby world and your hobby life career, but try them anyways, right?
Well, I just recently started a Dark Angels army, and I've got the Army Painter speed paint. So what I did is I actually painted the base spray was quite a lighter green than normal Dark Angel. So when you put the speed painter over it, gives you an even better effect.
Yeah.
All right. So
there's so much
with a lighter green, and then using the dark green speed painter from the Army Painter range, they come out actually quite nice. And I think they've got a better definition than if I'd put them over a dark green base.
Yeah,
They,
for sure.
they never... Go on.
I was going to say you can do all sorts with them. You can zenithal highlight. A lot of people do that. That works with most of the contrast and speed paint range. You can also do silver metallics and then put it over, and you get a completely different finish. Obviously, they're designed to go over the light colours, the white, the grey, and the bone colour of the various companies that produce them. But yeah.
Because they're kind of like really thick washes, but not so thick as their paint. Steve, any thoughts on that? Or do you not do it?
I've never used them. I own some. I own some of the Games Workshop contrast paints, but the one that I mainly use is Gilliman Flesh, and that's just as a flesh wash. I've got what have we got here? We got Black Templar and Apothecary White. I bought Apothecary White because I was painting some Stormtroopers. But they're the only ones that I've had. The thing is, I don't prime light. I prime brown, so they'd be pretty much useless over a brown that I use. So I don't know. I know that it's very Marmite. I know some people use them, some people don't. I mean, I can like Johnny said though, if you're new to the hobby and you want to get 20 or 30 Space Marines on the table, absolutely,
that's what I found. Is I bought 2 combat patrol boxes, so I got enough Marines. They were Ultramarines in the Space Wolves boxes, but culled them together with the custom sprues. And then, like I say, light green spray, and then the army painter, and they're all done. It's just a highlighting, and that's less than a week for I think 40 models.
Yeah, so and Kaiser himself. I was just going to say he was dubious, fellows at home.
Well, so I was right. Because I work with a war games club in the school. We get some kind of support from Games Workshop. So right when contrast paints were brand new, we got the chance to go down to one of the stores to try them out before they were on general release. And they primed a load of Space Marines for us. And it was like, oh, try this, I'll try this, I'll try this. And I tried it and it's like, this is fucking junk. This stuff is rubbish. Then I'll just slap it on. This is what they were saying back then. And painted. So I got this Space Wolf blue, painted the model with the Space Wolf blue. And it was all mottled to hell. But it was only sort of much later, after all of the nonsense about contrast paints, that I said they really don't work very well on flat surfaces on their own. You kind of want to use them differently to that. Here's what it looks like on fabrics or flesh. Right, okay. So I really got my fingers burnt having seen how bad they were, or certainly the ones that we tried. Very early formulation. But the other thing is, probably a little bit like Steve said, you prime brown. I mean, anybody listening is thinking, yeah, but just prime white then, mate. But you do the things the way you do them and the way you know how to do them. Yeah.
The thought of painting over a white, a white prime, give you chest pains. It really does. I can't do it.
Yes. And I can tell you, having done it recently, for all the reasons I say, it is a really different way to paint. But for some reason or another, I decided 2 separate times. I decided I am going to do these bloody speed paints. One was the Test of Honor warband, and the other is the Dead Man's Hand, the Nacho gang, the Banditos. So I've sprayed them white, and I'm looking at them thinking, painting over white, you get 0 mistakes on this. Absolute 0 mistakes on this. You can't leave anything, not even like the underneath of it, because that brilliant white is going to show through. And I already know how to paint models, and I know that this is going to be different. But do you know what absolutely astonished me when I started painting it? Was how fucking good the flesh is straight over white. Out of the pot onto white, it's better than I paint my flesh. And like, that's worth something to me. That is actually, because my flesh, my guys, they always look at, well, I don't paint eyes, for example, because it'd be one eye looking at you and one eye looking for you kind of situation. But then doing like some cloaks and so forth, It's how vibrant the colours were straight out of the pot. Now, were they perfectly highlighted? No. And you have to, in particular, what I was very nervous about was my system of painting is I paint messy at the beginning and tidy at the end. So if I'm painting my Germans, the field grey has gone on with a brush like this on all the models, right? His face, everything has been painted field grey, 2 thin coats, and then I'll start painting the details more neatly. You cannot speed paint like that.
No.
You know, I was worried that was going to be a really slow down issue, you know, to getting those first coats on. But what I wasn't prepared for, well, it's how well the liquid moves from the brush to the model.
Yeah.
Because the liquid is quite thin, and the kind of surface tension type interactions, it's really controllable. And because you're not mixing it with, you know, with a little bit of water or whatever thinning materials you're using, you never have that like it's too thin, it's run a little bit problem. Once you've worked out how this consistency is going to work, I actually found it very easy to be neat. And I'm a very not neat painter until I'm reaching the final stages. So there was a surprising amount of control you had over it, and that's what won me over. Was actually this is the medium, you know, the thickness, viscosity of the paint was really consistent and really
good
really
on the colours that you've used.
Yeah.
Before we all sign off, there are
though.
a few. Yeah, that is the Army Painter ones, not Contrast. Some of the new Contrast paints are all right. Some of them are not. Same with Army Painter. I think you'll find without using the full range of colours, some of them are really good and work really well. Some of them, again, it's only a handful you might not get on with. But as somebody says in there, it runs in all the proper places, and it's also, they are handy to have. Steve's got a couple as well, you know, the black and the, you know, having a brown and the white.
Yeah.
It's handy to have a couple in the toolbox. You can shave some time off of what you were doing. There was one of the comments, Mr. Latour in there. I don't know if you've got that there.
AP.
He mentioned
that's the other one. Was
that
it?
one. Yeah, the Army Painter speed paints and their washes. That was the whole thing. Some of them you'll love most, but some of them you might not get on with. Charles Latour says that, and I do agree.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's from me.
Now, nobody makes that range of military colours that you want. There isn't a field grey one.
No.
Yeah, you know, so there's only so far you can go. The Panzer Lair that I'm painting at the moment, I'm painting them in a traditional way. But unless you're a pretty good painter, I would try getting, I don't know what the Gulliman Flesh is like, but I've heard good things. But certainly the Army Painter one, painted straight over white, that gives it's a bit pale, but it's good. It's a really good finish for one coat. Give it a go. See what you think.
It's good.
Well, I use the Gulliman Flesh for me is because I normally use Reichland Flesh Shade as a wash over Cadian Flesh Tone. But I picked that up because I was doing some sort of hobby restock. I thought, I'll pick a couple of these up, and it does work. I find it doesn't work on 15mm. It's a bit too striking, but on 28mm, it definitely works. Again, it's something I mix and match it, and it's definitely. I've not used it a lot, but I like to know that I can use it if it's there.
All right, where do we get to with the hobby in? I've done a fair bit of dry brushing on these. I think once I start painting the roof tiles, this is the Ligny.
Oh, the windmill.
Ligny windmill.
Ooh.
Yeah, the base is downstairs. Yep,
that is a cool little model, that one. So far I've got legs and torsos on 5. I really struggled to decide on what torsos we're going with what legs.
Right. Okay.
Willie Mike.
Well, I've been playing the campaign version of Dead Man's Hand, and when you're playing it, you can have the shotgun, and later on you can actually go to a second weapon. So when you run out of the shotgun runs out of ammo, you change to close range. You can change to the pistol. So like this guy, I've done him.
You remake
You got 2 of the same model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's genius.
Yeah,
that's like proper old school Necromunda, you know. Actually, old school Necromunda, you just chop off the weapon and glue the new one on, or just glue it to his back or his arm or something anywhere.
So when they use the rifle, and then they pull out their pistol. So to remember which weapon they're using, I can swap the figures out now. Yeah, so paint in pairs.
That's excessive, Woolly Mike. Excessive. Mr. Steve, did you get any modelling done? And
yes,
look at that.
What's that?
All the bits in the bag, and you're on the big screen.
All tidied up. That is the last platoon and a command base for O Group, which I should be starting tomorrow.
Right.
Beautiful. Tell the lovely people.
Yeah.
Mike, shut up. Tell the lovely people, Steve, again, where they can find you on your YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel. Guys. Oh, no, not the other ones. On Point HQ. If you like bolt action, you might find it a bit interesting because 99% of my content is bolt action. In fact, there'll be a new video out this week because I've recently completed my 11th Armored Division project I've spent months working on. So I'm hoping to do an army showcase by the end of the week. So that is coming up on the channel.
Very nice. So that is On Point HQ, and of course every Monday night, unless they're between seasons. 8 o'clock start time.
It's 8 o'clock. We swap each week, so one person hosts while the other three paint because it's impossible to paint while you're hosting. That's what I find anyway. 8 o'clock Monday on one of our channels, and we normally put up a schedule on our community page or on the Facebook page.
Awesome.
Friends of General Haig, Andy says, does Steve have any bids on French drummers?
No, I don't.
No,
that's an in-joke for anyone who watches the show.
That is an in-joke.
All right. I can't imagine there'll be any in the near future unless it's me swearing violently while painting. I've actually painted one French drummer in my life, and I hated every minute of it.
That was too many of it. Yeah. All right. Coming up in the
check
channel,
it out.
Over the next few weeks, we are cracking on with our Combined Arms campaign. We've had the second battle, so there's another campaign video and another battle video that's in for editing. We're meeting up tomorrow and probably going to record another one. Oh, the porn bots just got us. Yeah, scream until the porn bots get you. So sorry, it's only recently started happening. I think it's like when we passed 5k subs, suddenly all the spam bots and so on are like, that's interesting. The spam folder for the channel email address is quite interesting now. There are lots of offers if I want to do marketing affiliations with people who sell car tires and all kinds of shit. No, it's not anything to do with what we're doing here. But you'll see that there's another Flames of War game which is in editing. John and I are meeting up tomorrow with a view of hopefully also doing something a little bit different, maybe something like Lost Patrol or Space or something you don't see very often.
I'm glad you said that because I'd forgotten.
Good. I'm going down to Southampton to what's the name of the shop, Mike?
Musket Balls 1812 in Southampton.
Musket Balls 1812.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
And we're going to play some Dead Man's Hand and film in the store. They've got this lovely Dead Man's Hand set up on a poker table. It's really sweet looking arrangement. So we're gonna do some of that. And Saffron 69 is seeing me later in the week, and we are gonna play another game of Fistful of Lead World War II. Last time we did a live show with us fighting zombies. This time we're gonna do it with just regular troops so that we can look at the shock mechanics, because in the last one they just didn't exist. One side didn't shoot and the other side was immune to shock. So a lot of combat mechanics were ignored. Anyway, that's what you got coming up, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be a video on Friday, as you would expect. From us, it's good night. And Steve, thank you very much for coming.
Oh, no, dude. Cheers, really enjoyed. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really enjoyed it.